two-pronged issue here, but that's what I got to say on that topic.
Great, thank you. Our next question is going to come from Beth S. Beth, please stay away from and ask your question.
Hi, I'm from Tulsa, and we were happy that you were here. Marathon Day was a high energy day in Tulsa. My question is, if a person is really skinny and they're doing low fat whole plants and they have a giant bowl of fruit or like 9 bananas for breakfast, and 2 hours later they're crashing, like sugar crash, shaky, everything like that, is that just because they're starving, or could that be uh, insulin resistance?
Well, I guess it would be curious to see. It could be a number of things happening. I'd be curious to see, like, are they going very high, right? Was there like a spike to like 200, 250 or something, and then a shoot down? A CGM would basically give us that data. And just eating only 9 bananas, I mean, maybe that person could consider including greens or non-starchy vegetables or mixing other fruits in there potentially. There'd be a lot of things to play around with, but
Okay.
it's hard to say for sure.
Okay, well, I heard you earlier mentioning the greens, so I figured that's a great place to start.
No question, 100%.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, thank you. And next question is coming from Janet M. Please state where you're from and ask your question.
Yes. Hi, Robbie. I am from Maryland. And I was just wondering, where do things like coconut water and the coconut water, without any added sugar, and also like freshly made vegetable and fruit juices, and also smoothies, like where does all that fit into your program? Are those green, yellow, or red light foods? I'm just wondering.
Okay, I love that question. I'm actually going to see if I can find the section of the book. I'm going to read this to you because we had a whole section on beverages. Let's see.
What page is that on?
Yeah, we're going to find out right now.
Okay.
I'm looking in the index thinking of what word. Coconut water doesn't appear to be in here. What if we look up coffee? Let's see. Let's see. Let's try 1/6 down. Let's try 227. 227. Let's see. Is that going to be beverages? Well, 227, we talk about caffeine, and then 229, we talk about smoothies, but I'll just answer your question. So fruit juices are going to go into the yellow light category, right? It's not green. You've removed the fiber. It's not red because it's not a terrible option, but it's not ideal either. And we shouldn't just be drinking ad libitum fruit juices, but it's still a good option. So it's yellow light, right? Or fresh squeeze orange juice at home. Let's say you have a juicer and you throw in, who knows, like people juice sweet potatoes these days, and they take some carrots and some apples and some celery and lettuce, and they make a juice. All kinds of juices out there. Yellow. Coconut water, also yellow, because consuming liquid calories isn't necessarily ideal. But again, the yellow light category is where you play around and personalize. I personally drink about 96 ounces of fresh coconut water every day. I live in Miami. I just love it. It's like my preferred beverage. I'd rather drink coconut water than just regular water, which is what I essentially do. And it's great. So, but I'm not trying to lose weight. I'm training for Ironmans. Like it just fits my lifestyle. It's no problem. I'm not drinking it super fast. It's not causing blood glucose spikes or anything like that. So that's the coconut water. And smoothies. Okay. The thing about smoothies also go into the yellow light category. It's not red and it's not ideal because you've broken up the fiber. So imagine you have a block of ice like a gigantic block of ice the size of your car sitting on your front lawn in your house, okay? And it's a hot day. You live in Miami. It's the summer. It's 90 degrees out, okay? It's still going to take a while for that big block of ice to melt and go into your yard, right? And melt into the soil and all that, okay? Now, imagine you took a blender, a blade, and you just started making shards. Like you just like broke this thing up into a ton of little pieces. And these little pieces go everywhere. Those little pieces are going to melt into the grass very fast. Okay. That's what's happening when you're blending up the fruit. You're increasing the surface area, and you're going to be absorbing the glucose faster, right? You've altered the matrix, the whole food matrix, and you will absorb the glucose faster. So the best way to consume a smoothie is a smoothie bowl with greens and eating it with a spoon. That's the best. You could put it in like a glass mason jar. And even in that case, if you ate it with a spoon, that'd be better. But if you made it thicker, so you consumed it slowly, that would be ideal. But just making a really thin, smoothie and just like gulping it quick, it's not going to be ideal. And it's going to fit in the yellow light category. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's very helpful. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Cool. All right.
Great. Thank you. And speaking about things going into your bloodstream quickly, one of the popular ways that people like to think of whether food is good for you is the glycemic index, and how quickly it goes into our system in the form of glucose. How concerned should we be about the glycemic index of any particular food? Or should we be concerned at all as long as it's a green light food? We don't really care about the glycemic index of it.
Okay, so I would love to find that section as well. The answer, there we go. Here we go. 220. We're gonna read this together. This is a fun one. I love this topic. Okay, 220 in the book. Understanding the glycemic index and glycemic load. All right, little story time here, Stephen. Little story time. All right. Oh, Michael, sorry, I talked to Stephen earlier.
No worries.
Okay. The glycemic index measures how quickly a food raises your blood glucose levels. The food with the highest GI is pure glucose at 100. Foods can be listed as low glycemic, 55 or less, medium glycemic, 56 to 69, or high glycemic, 70 to 100. The glycemic index of a given food varies by the temperature at which it is eaten, the cooking method, the ripeness, and the variety. For example, a sweet potato versus a white potato. The GI is moderately useful because green light foods that are particularly low on the GI, leafy greens, non-starchy vegetables, and legumes, will help prevent blood glucose spikes and result in a steadier blood glucose profile throughout the day. Eating significant quantities of a higher GI food, like pineapple, could result in a larger blood glucose spike than would eating a food like blueberries. This is quite helpful during your transition, especially if your baseline level of insulin resistance is high or very high, and is useful if you inject bolus insulin and want to adjust your insulin dosing strategy accordingly. Despite its utility in these specific situations, the GI can also be misleading because it does not factor in the nutrient density of a given food. For example, a Snickers bar has a GI of 43 and peanut butter has a GI of 33, both of which are low. But as you now know, both will increase your level of baseline insulin resistance and result in elevated post-meal blood glucose the next time you attempt to eat carbohydrate-rich foods. Even though all green light foods fall in the low or medium category, the only exception is watermelon with a GI of 72. Only exception, let's just land on that note real quick, folks. All green light foods fall in the low or medium category of the GI. And the one that's outside is at 72 when the scale is 70 to 100. Okay? Green light foods are automatic. Like this, we're going to get to the conclusion. I'm going to reiterate the conclusion. Okay. We suggest disregarding the glycemic index. The glycemic index does not take into account the quantity or type of macronutrients in your food, the presence of other foods in the same meal, the nutrient density of your food, the status of your gut microbiome, or your level of insulin sensitivity. For these reasons, the glycemic index is not very useful. Okay, now there's a whole nother section about glycemic load, which I could read if you want me to. But the point is the glycemic index is not something worth putting a bunch of focus on. Focus on the green light foods, focus on moving your body, focus on eating at a relatively good pace, and enjoy the foods you love. And follow our recipes because we already have figured out exactly how many greens and non-starchy vegetables you should have in your meals. So you don't have to like overthink, like, am I having enough?
Perfect. I appreciate that. And it was nice in your book there. So, when someone's transitioning, what should they be concerned with when they're going from the standard American diet, according to, I believe you cover this in Mastering Diabetes. What are the first things that they should do? And I appreciate your focus on making things easy. So what are the easiest things that that people can start with right away? And how concerned should they be in doing it immediately versus doing it sustainably?
Yeah, so the easy way to start is just change your breakfast. Just change one meal at a time and eat foods you love and don't stress. Like, you're going to be adjusting your entire microbiome. You're going to be eating a lot more fiber than you've ever had when you start following the Mastering Diabetes method. And over 90% of people in the US don't even meet the basic requirements of fiber. So your gut's going to have some adjustments when you're switching from standard American to whole food plant-based. And just go slowly. I mean, that is the best advice. Unless there's some specific health concern going on, then being slow and patient is the better way to actually make these habits last and stick for the long term.
And what are the most important dietary changes someone can make as they're starting or as they're attempting to reverse their insulin? Is it reducing the high fat stuff? Is it increasing the fruits and the green light foods? And I realize you'd probably suggest doing both of them simultaneously.
Yeah, for sure.
But what elements are the most important and the most impactful?
It's definitely both simultaneously, but the most important place to start is to start getting rid of trans fat and saturated fat, right? So plant fats are much better, much better. There's an ample amount of research demonstrating that when you replace, starting avocado instead of having bacon, that type of change is going to be great for your insulin sensitivity. But then there is another level to unlock, and that other level is, okay, well, instead of having a bunch of avocado, I'm going to get more of my calories from bananas and quinoa and potatoes and stuff like that. So the first step is eliminate the worst fats, trans fats and saturated fats. And that's going to be, the animal products and the highly processed foods.